Are we live? Let's see. My head's so crooked. Okay, we are good to go. Sometimes the audio gets really wonky. So, as you can see, it's a mustache kind of morning. Schman. Happy Halloween, everybody. I got the old Waluigi hat once again. The hat is really tall. It goes off the camera a bit. I have to go a bit up. Okay, so we are recapping episode 6. This many? Yes, episode 6 of season 34 of The Amazing Race. And we're going to recap, do the stats breakdown per usual. So let's do a very brief recap. I recap a lot quicker than a lot of other podcasts. I think there was a podcast that recapped a recent episode for an hour and 40 minutes. That's a long recap. After one night inside Jordan, which oddly enough is the name of a tape of a promiscuous friend I went to high school and university with, and that tape got released a couple years ago. Teams went inside a man. Oh, Amman. They went inside Amman, Jordan. I really got to work on my pronunciation of cities in the Middle East. Amman, of course, is the capital of Jordan. So, for those of you who were really pissed off about teams departing in groups rather than the exact timing of their arrival, like the first 32 seasons of the American version of Amazing Race, prepare to be pissed off even more with this episode. Because we're going to get into this pretty much right away. I'm just stalling here. But the logic of it just doesn't quite add up. Because guess what? We essentially have a brand new starting line. Everything resets. All the teams are gathered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Isn't there supposed to be 8? Oh no. Oh no, a team is missing. Holy shit, what happened? We only have 7 of the 8 teams. What's going on here? So all 7 teams are there with Phil, and then Phil Kogan pulls out his phone and he starts playing that day's Wordle. I think he forgot to do it yesterday, and he's really pissed off that he broke his streak. So he's doing his Wordle, and all 7 teams are just staring at him blankly, waiting for the new leg to start or to deliver some news. So he's doing his Wordle, and then finally he's like, "Oh right, that's not why I pulled out my phone. I knew it was for something else." So he brings up the video chat with one of the teams, a team that most of us have forgotten was even on this season. And that is Abby and Will. Abby and Will are brought out on the phone, and since there's 2 separate chat windows, that means they're not even in the same hotel room. So do they have a really big fight and they refuse to continue on racing with each other? What the hell has happened? But because CBS essentially spoiled this in the previews from at the end of the last episode, we know that they caught the vid. They caught the vid. And then Phil, he's chatting with them. I'm glad they had to really condense it because I think Phil scolded them probably a lot more. He brings up the phone. He's like, good morning, you sloppy jackasses. You got the vid, and since we don't bullshit around like Amazing Race Australia, where you can sit out for 7 legs and then return, or the Amazing Race Canada, where you sit out for 30% of the season, and there's so many other non-elimination legs that essentially turns into a double elimination tournament for season 8. We don't mess around here. We don't mess around here with the American version. You're gone. You're out. Get the hell out of here. Well, after you do your 2-week quarantine in Jordan, then get the hell out of here. And then production had to tell Phil and say, come on, man, that's just excessive. It could have been anything. Could have been any reason why they caught it. They could have just been around an extra, or just a surface they happened to touch, or just be in close proximities and breathing in the same air. You don't know that, Phil. That's not your area of expertise. Your area of expertise is hosting a TV show and another reality TV show about hardworking people. Oh, well, what do you know about how this virus transmits? So then Phil's like, okay, okay, I'll back off a bit. Let's redo this again. And he shows a lot more concern this time. He said, and then eventually, after the banter back and forth, he just says, uh, I mean, well, you know, because of the positive test, I'm sorry to tell you, you've both been eliminated from the race. And then he says, "Oh, how do you two feel about this?" And then Abby says, "Not good. I, don't- I- she's not going to feel good about it. She just got eliminated. I don't see the I don't see why they really had to follow up on that. How else do you think she's going to feel? She's not going to be relieved unless maybe she's Sharik. Sharik was probably a bit relieved about being eliminated. Her arm was sore. So yeah, after the phone call ends, Phil Kogan blames his initial temper on the hot weather. I mean, three it has been 3 seasons since they were in the Middle East on the Amazing Race. So it's been a while since he's experienced that intense heat, especially last season. They were in freaking Scotland. You're not going to be boiling hot in Scotland, I can tell you that. Okay, so Abby and Will are eliminated, and much like Dave and Connor at the start of Leg 5 in season 22 of Amazing Race, which I recently blogged about for the TARstorian blogs, which I need to resume. I haven't done the next episode of Amazing Race count in over a month for TARstorian. I really need to get on that. Anyways, so Abby and Will are gone, and then Phil says, because Abby and Will are gone, everyone's gonna start this leg at the same time. Well, why does Abby and Will's elimination have any bearing as to why you don't depart in groups or depart in the order of time of arrival? Why does everything reset to everyone starting at the same time? Well, I don't see the correlation there, but that's Phil's reasoning, so we just have to accept it as gospel. And we proceed, and Phil says, okay, okay, because there weren't supposed to be any non-elimination legs, minus the halfway point of mega legs this season, you guys are gonna have this leg will have all of the stakes at this pit stop. You better hurry because if you're last, you'll have to start 15 minutes behind most of the teams and as much as 45 minutes behind the leading teams. So that's a big deal. So you better hurry the hell up, or it's going to be the next leg is going to be a nightmare for you. And it's kind of funny because we've seen so many legs where teams make up several hours deficit, or there's flight scrambles and suddenly they're in the lead. 45-minute penalty behind the first place team and being trailing most teams by 15 to 30 minutes. It doesn't seem like a big deal. I wouldn't be hustling that hard. What if I strain my quad or tear an Achilles heel for instance? I'm not going to go balls to the wall all around Amon Jordan. No way. In fact, there would be incentive to say, you know what? I'm not going to do the detour. I'm not going to do the roadblock. Just give me the 10 hours worth of penalties so that I'm the last place team, because then it'll just reset to only being 15 to 30 minutes behind most of the teams. And especially if I'm a team that was strong, let's say I'm Marcus and Michael or Emily and Molly, my thinking would be, I've been kicking everyone else's ass for I don't know why I said that with the lisp. I don't know why I've been kicking everyone else's ass for 5 episodes. I know I'm still going to beat most of these teams over the next couple rounds. Just give me the 10 hours worth of penalties and just take me. Just give me a shuttle bus or something and just take me to the pit stop. And I'm just going to take today off and rest up and stay out of the heat. I'm not going to get sunburned. I'm not going to learn the dance or strain my brain learning the Arabic alphabet or putting together an Arabaya. I'm just I'm just gonna chill at the pit stop hotel. Just the food. I hear the food here is amazing. I'm just gonna eat as much food as I can at the buffet during this pit stop while all the other teams are running around Amman, Jordan, knowing you can't be eliminated. And the worst case scenario is you're 45 minutes behind one team. So that's what I would consider doing if I knew I was pretty damn good at the race and if I had zero respect for a good chunk of the teams that were still left in it. But sadly, none of the teams chose to troll Phil Kogan and Bertram and Elise. They just said, "Okay, I guess we'll try and play this honestly, even though there's not very big stakes today. There's not marked for elimination, which is what they did for a couple seasons. What some foreign versions have done, where if you're not if you're the last team to arrive, you will have a 30-minute penalty at the next pit stop if you're not the first team to arrive." Or there's not a stupid, silly little speed bump where you untie a rope or sit on a chair. There's not the TAR Norway or TAR 27 handicap twist where your roadblock is twice as much as everyone else. You're not going to have your bags or money taken away. Really, this is, other than keep on racing legs, this is the most inconsequential uh, pit stop since season 4. And that is where we're at. Okay, let's keep going. We really need to get to the stats soon. I was stumbling over my words a bit, so I apologize for that. Thank you for hanging in there with me on this Halloween. The roadblock. The roadblock could have had a really unique structure. I like this roadblock to begin with, but we, as one of the organizations around here say, we can always be better. We can always be better. And this hat does not balance well on top of these headphones, let me tell you. Okay, so with the roadblock, what they could have done is, especially the construction of the roadblock is a bit odd because the judges, there wasn't a set way on how to properly build this Arabaya because multiple teams were approved and then they had it broken down on the way to the pit stop. What they could have done, what they could have done instead is just not have the judges involved at all. Then you take away that subjective element. It could have been, okay, build this Arabaya, and when you think you have properly constructed it, then you have to properly transport it to the pit stop. And if it breaks down along the way, you have to go back to the roadblock location where all the tools are to fix it. So if the wheels come off or something snaps off, you gotta bring it back. Gotta bring that back. But here, it's a bit odd when the judge says, "Oh, okay, it's approved," and then it breaks down afterwards, and they could just fix it along the way. So I think the roadblock could have been constructed a little bit better. In concept, it was good, but it just needed a little bit of tweaking, like many of the teams' Arabayas. And it would have been a pretty awesome roadblock to just have it open ended like that, where you go when you think you're ready to go, but if you mess up, you got to come back to the roadblock location. And so it's a game of chance to think if your Arabaya will hold it long enough until you make it to the pit stop. That would have been really fascinating to see because I think we would have seen a few different unique approaches to it. Okay, and let's quickly go over the detour. Again, I don't really explain what the tasks are in depth because I presume if you're watching me, I only get 50 viewers a week. There are many other recap podcasts that get thousands of viewers and have already uploaded their recaps. So I presume you've already seen the episode and you watched 4 or 5 recaps before you even get to me. That's why I'm not explaining the task. I don't know. Who would watch me as if you haven't seen the episode, why would you watch this video on YouTube first before consulting with anybody else? I mean, thank you, but uh, I don't have that much of an ego. Okay, so with the detour, unfortunately, we have another dancing task, a dancing or music task. We are getting close. We are getting close to the dancing and music task levels that you see in Amazing Race Canada. I think we're at 4 right now because we've had the yodeling, we've had the weird bell thing, we've had a dance, and here we've had a sword dance, which sadly did not feature Farfetch'd from Pokemon because that would have been pretty damn cool. And yeah, so hopefully we don't see too many more dancing and music tasks, and not because, oh, it's unfair because we got 2 teams of dancers and a team of cheerleaders on this season. Granted, Louise, I don't think is supposed to be a very good dancer, but yes, we have David, Aubrey, Michelle, Quentin, and Maddie. They're all dancers. So everyone thinks, oh, that's really unfair for them. But when you look at certain seasons of Amazing Race, there's certain seasons where a lot of strength-based tasks favor big, bulky, buff dudes on a season, or seasons where how you get by in an airport is what gives you an advantage. So all sorts of things coming into play here. So I don't mind that there's some dancing and music tasks. I mean, they're my least favorite, but as long as it doesn't go to the Amazing Race Canada extreme of, oh, put on a silly little costume and here we go again. Why am I watching this show still? And that's why I stopped watching Amazing Race Canada, was for that very reason. Okay, so one side of the detour, we had teams memorizing the Arabic alphabet. So I was fine with that task. It was a fine task to see. Although if you ask Joey Cavino, it wasn't the alphabet that he viewed as being fine to see during the detour. I think he would be a big fan of Grace from Amazing Race Australia Season 2. And I should also note, if Becky from the intro of the Baby Got Back music video was at this detour, she would be unbearably jealous of the female Jordanian language teach, some of the female Jordanian language teachers that we saw during this leg. She would not be Joey Cavino's friend on Facebook. Okay, and lastly, the entire leg was done on foot. I'm not a big fan of the route markers being so close together, especially so close that you can accidentally stumble upon the pit stop. And I mean, you can still win the leg, apparently. You can still win the leg even if you go by the pit stop. That's just how close all of these route markers and tasks seem to be on this leg. Unless for some reason there's alumni or current contestants in the cast watching this, feel free to correct me on this. But it doesn't seem like it was a very long day for this episode. I think it was one of the quicker legs. Anyways, so let's get to the stats. We're 17 minutes in. That's not good. I'm usually a lot faster than this. Must have stumbled upon my words more than usual. Okay, so for the stats, Luis and Michelle become the second team this season to win consecutive legs. It took until leg 7 for 2 teams to win consecutive legs last season, so this happened 1 leg faster. And the last time a team won consecutive legs in a debuting country for the American version of the Amazing Race was season 19, when Andy and Tommy won both legs in Malawi. And number 3, third thing, Abby and Will become the second team, I believe, after Dave and Connor to be eliminated from the race at the start of the leg, unless you count all 4 teams being kicked out at the start of the 4th round last season. Although I'm sure viewers wish this distinction also applied to Jonathan Baker from Amazing Race Season 6. And another thing, in contrast to Amazing Race Australia, where we had 5 scenes of Bo Ryan eating ice cream in his hotel room when he got COVID, we did not see any additional footage of Abby and Will in isolation. It was just that quick conversation with Phil, and that was the end of Abby and Will. And the last time we had fewer than 7 teams, because let me rephrase that again. 7 teams are going into the second half of this season. The last time we had fewer than 7 teams going into the second half of the season was season 30, so that they could quickly get to that sloppy partner swap twist. And this season is the first time there was more than 1 leg in the Middle East since season 23, which had back-to-back rounds in the United Arab Emirates. And David and Aubrey jumped up 6 spots in this leg, which is the biggest improvement of the season thus far. The last team to jump up 6 spots or more in between rounds was Arun and Natalia at the very start of last season. So I think they went from 9th to 3rd, or 10th to 3rd. 9th to 3rd. Final answer. Lock it in, Regis. Okay, and the last team to win consecutive legs and still be eliminated prior to the final 3 was Lucas and Brittany in season 30, because Lucas was silly enough to leave his passport behind on a vomit-fueled and theft-ridden flight to Ethiopia. I remember that story. That was a crazy flight, and I guess within the chaos of it, Lucas forgot his passport on the plane. I miss Lucas and Brittany. Okay, and Will of Abby and Will is the first contestant ever to duplicate my tone of voice, but I think there's like a slight southern twang in it. It's very uncanny. Listen to Will talk in exit interviews, and it sounds a lot like my voice, which was really startling. The first time I heard it, I'm thinking, did I get interviewed on another podcast and had already forgotten about it? Did was I more intoxicated than I thought at a Halloween party a couple days ago? Why does he sound so much like me? And I didn't catch on to this earlier because during the season, I don't think we really heard from Will at all or extensively where he'd maybe say more than a sentence, or maybe I was on my phone and I wasn't really paying attention. But this week, I really noticed that similar tone of voice. Okay. And because of, I think I've said this before on other people's recap podcasts that I tend to troll in the chat room, but I've got a feeling Abby and will not be invited back. They were given very minimal airtime, and usually, if you get really minimal airtime, CBS or production is not. It's not that they don't like you; they're just not interested in inviting you back for a second or third or fourth or fifth time to compete on a CBS reality show. I know there's always a campaign. Anytime a team gets eliminated, you always hear, "Oh, they should bring them back for All Stars." Every time, it doesn't matter. I think there's still a campaign out. I think there was a campaign for Adam and Alex from season 27 to be invited back for All Stars after they were eliminated in 10th place. And we still can't rule that out because we've had some really random choices for returning seasons for Amazing Race. Specifically, Amanda and Chris, and half of the cast from season 14 were invited back for Unfinished Business, which is still a decision that puzzles me to this day. And a lot of the teams that were invited back for season 24, we had Caroline and Jennifer invited back. That was not an all-female team on anybody's list for who to return, except maybe their family members or the people who attend their concerts. So who knows? Maybe we'll see Abby and Will, and everyone can laugh and say, "Hey, Logan, do you remember when you said that on your YouTube channel with 50 views?" Well, I was one of those 50 views, so I can safely say, in your face, you were wrong. You were wrong about Abby and Will not being invited back, you stupid SOB. Okay, and let's see. Do I have anything else to add? No, I got through all of my stats rather quickly. Oh, one thing to note, I believe this is a really big deal, and I believe they're the only contestants who are even watching any of these video recaps and stat breakdowns. Congratulations to Michelle, Luis and Michelle, for being verified on Instagram. I know it's a really big deal. Luis is verified, Michelle is verified. However, if some guy named Mike gets verified, I think it renders the whole verification process meaningless. And I've heard on Twitter that Elon Musk wants to redo all of the verifications. So you have to pay $20 a month, $20 USD. That's for my international viewers out there who are maybe from Canada like me or live elsewhere in the world. 20 USD if you want to remain verified. So if Instagram were to adopt a similar policy, got a feeling Luis and Michelle are not gonna hang on to that verification status unless they win the million. Maybe that's what they'll invest it in. They'll cover them for quite a few years. And of course, we're 24 minutes into this. It's Halloween Monday. Halloween is today. And as you can probably figure out, Kim and Penn, they had loads of plans for Halloween. That is, it's a busy household. It's a busy household. I'm sure Penn and Kim are recording a parody of "Somebody's Watching Me" by Rockwell. I just know that's happening right now. You don't even need to tell me. I'm just gonna make that assumption, and there's a very good chance that I am right about that assumption. So we'll try again next week. I know I feel like I'm the boy who cried Holderness, but you just gotta keep knocking on that door, and the door will eventually open, unless nobody's home and there's a really good stable lock on it. Okay, so thank you for watching this, for hanging in there for 25 minutes or scrolling through, especially the initial 20 seconds. It took me a while to get started today. So thank you, Have a happy and safe Halloween. Although if you got through Saturday night, I don't see why your Monday night would be any crazier. So thank you, peace out, and just chill until the next episode. Shmeh.